Hello everyone, I am Idona John Baptist with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, Parry Bellot blows the whistle on poor financial management at the Grotto Home for the Homeless. Farmers to have their headquarters at the building which previously housed the DBMC. And local government authorities told to be vigilant against unfairness in the distribution of relief supplies. The details of the news coming up.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fenced pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Do you need more cash for that home improvement? Then come to Fast Cash, where we give you more. At Fast Cash, our customers get more funds and more time to repay. But wait, can't come to us? We'll come to you, and our mobile officer will get you on your way. Small businesses, consumers, and taxi owners. Fast Cash has more for everyone. Simply call or visit any of our locations for more. Smarter, faster, better. Fast Cash. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Minister responsible for local government, Lady Catherine Daniel, has appealed to local government bodies to be fair in the distribution of relief supplies. Daniel told councillors at a consultation on climate resilience that they should lead the way in effectively supporting the post-disaster response. That includes fair coordination in the early stages of relief distribution.
And I stress fairly, because when an event strikes, it does not look for color, it does not look for religion, it does not look for anything. We all are impacted, and it's in that vein we should serve people. So we must be fair in that function of relief distribution.
Her idea of fair relief distribution is about reaching those who are most in need. Daniel has challenged community leaders to set up relief distribution subcommittees in advance of a disaster.
It's not just a council thing, so that council alone does it. It has to be a diversified thing with different people, leaders of the community, people who really care for people. People who you know will not go there, and every nice thing that is seen will be taken for them. People who will understand the vulnerabilities of people and distribute accordingly. This is what the distribution committee should be. So councils, now as you go back, learning from Maria, go back to your communities and put that plan in action. Discuss with the central government, who in your communities is represented by a parliamentary representative, and work together for the betterment of the vulnerable people in our area.
If the Minister for Agriculture has his way, farmers could once again have access to the building formerly used by the DBMC.
The building on the corner of Charles Avenue and Goodwill Road is currently being used by the Ministry of Housing, but the Minister for Agriculture intends to use it as a one-stop shop for farmers. Mr. Austri is of the view that farmers waste too much time running around for farm inputs, leaving very little time for productive work on their farm.
When you live here and you want some service, you first of all have to go to the gardens, ministry first. Yes. You come ministry first. Okay, so if you're lucky, you meet the peers. If you're not lucky, you meet somebody and they tell you, well, you have to go to the gardens to see Mr. Him. Yeah, now when you go to the gardens to look for Mr. Him, he tells you, sit down there and wait because he's waiting for Mr. Raymond to come. And you have to buy a license for $1, but you're there for 2 hours in the gardens, sit down there waiting for a license for $1. Now you have to take that $1 and you have to go back to the ministry because the PS now have to stamp it. Now when the PS stamp it now, you have to take it now and you have to go down to Woodridge Bay to see if they have what you want or the one that is by DBMC there, to see if they have the fertilizer there. Now they give you a thing, 10 bags. Then you take that slip now, the fertilizer there, you take that slip now, and you go back to the ministry for them to stamp on it delivered. And then you have to go back to the gardens now for them to tell somebody it's okay, you can give her the fertilizer. And now you have to go back down now to Fokole now. By that time it's 4 o'clock. So a whole day you spend walking up and down for 2 bags of fertilizer.
Mr. Austri says Dominica is well placed to be the world's food basket, but it's time farmers here receive the recognition they deserve.
In other news, citizens of the OECS are heading into the 2018 hurricane season a little more aware following the observance of the first ever OECS Climate Change Day.
OECS Climate Change Day was observed for the first time earlier this week in an effort to raise awareness among member states on their vulnerability to the emission of greenhouse gases. Program Coordinator for Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management at the OECS Commission, Crispin Davern, told Channel 5 News that part of the reason for hosting Climate Change Day is a partnership between the OECS and the United Nations Framework on Climate Change.
The Caribbean countries, and in particular the member states of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, or OECS, are really negligible emitters of greenhouse gases that affect the atmosphere and cause global warming, which leads to climate change. Yet we are disproportionately affected by climate change. Based on what we saw last year, if that is going to be the new normal, then we have to be very concerned. And for that reason, we thought it would be apt to begin to look at climate change, observe Climate Change Day at a regional level. Allied to that, we have entered into a partnership, that's the OECS Commission, with the Secretariat of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And as part of that agreement, we actually agreed to hold a Regional Climate Change Day.
The first OECS Climate Change Day focused on youth within the subgrouping, but Davern pointed out that continuous sensitization is needed on the phenomenon.
Climate Change Day 2018 took various forms. The focus this year was on schools, and we did not have a particular theme. We left it to member states to observe the day how they were best able to. At the end of the day, what we would like to see is a little more awareness of climate change, its causes, its effects, and what we as a region need to do to address it and to become as resilient as possible. We do not expect one day to change everything, and sensitization, education, and the awareness building has to be ongoing over time. In fact, it has been ongoing, but we need to accelerate it and sustain it.
The OECS Climate Change Day was celebrated just 2 weeks before the start of the 2018 hurricane season, and Davern hopes that the level of awareness was heightened ahead of 1st June.
The hurricane season for 2018 will soon commence, and we would like to think that the awareness created through Climate Change Day will help to stimulate positive action in terms of being prepared, in terms of being resilient, and so on. However, as has been previously said, one day will not do it all, and all concerned have to take the necessary action in terms of sensitizing and creating the enabling environment to build resilience and to empower persons to take, or people of the region to take action.
While not official, several countries around the world observe 15th May as Climate Change Day. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
An engineering unit within the Ministry of Agriculture to address a critical need for feeder roads for farmers.
Just one of the goals of the new leadership within the Ministry of Agriculture. Propagation centers, which can provide healthy and affordable planting material for farmers, is also expected to be a priority. One of the main interventions of a World Bank project is to ensure that the Ministry of Agriculture gets back on its feet.
We now see that the urgency for having an engineering unit within the ministry. An engineering unit not only for clearing roads, but for helping in land preparation. Land preparation for our root crops, our dashing, our tanya, our yam, ginger, cassava, toloba. All those things need land preparation. we need to have those machinery in a pool per region. So if Cassibus have 2 tillers, it is housed somewhere that can be maintained and not it on somebody's farm and they forget to bring it back. And it not only forget to bring it back, it ends up staying there because a part was missing and that's why it stays for the rest of its life. No. Under that new minister, the new ministry, the new PS, the intention is that whatever that is given out is accounted for. So we give 2 machines in a region. We expect to know what those machines are doing. We expect to see maintenance for those machines. And we expect to see the work that is being done to justify should we leave a machine there or not, or should we put the machine in somewhere else.
The idea is to have an agriculture industry that's based on accurate information.
We have already started with you by the registration that you did from the grant. That is what we call developing a database. We have a registry now of everybody that applied. We now can generate reports from that database. We can say everybody in the East, anybody that is a dashing farmer, anybody that's doing good. In other words, we're going to use that information to make better decisions for you. We're going to use that for getting information from you so that you can fine-tune the services that we need to give for you. At the end of the day, having that system going to help us to increase our production, increase the amount of boxes or bags that we make from the same piece of land. So if from a piece of land you're making 5 bags, the intention is that we try to make you make 10 bags from the same piece of land within the next 5 years. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you make more money, but at the same time not endangering the environment.
Stevenson believes farmers should ensure that they are using sustainable farming practices.
This is Channel 5 News. We'll be right back.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
L'année sim tout partout. Attention si vous êtes homme et bien femme. Visitez place santé pour examiner corps. Ça c'est un nick pour yo ouais si l'année pièce moun au lion qui ni maladie TB et bien maladie sexuelle. En compagnie moun qui ni maladie HIV pe ni TB aussi. Savent qui l'année guérison pour TB. Ou ça vivre en bonne santé même si ou ni maladie HIV. Parlez by docteur. Prends responsabilité. Aider du bout de maladie TB et HIV. Pour agir tout le monde pour examiner corps yo.
Thanks for staying with us. Board member of the Grotto Home for the Homeless, Parry Bellot, has expressed frustration with the lack of proper bookkeeping at the institution. Bellot, who announced his resignation in December, was recalled by staff and his colleague board member Angela Dewhurst. He hosted a news conference this week to reveal that they would be relocating to their $2 million building at Bellevue Hall on the last weekend in May.
I have never been happy with the accountability of the money we're getting and where it's going. You know, so clearly that has things to do with the management of the books, the treasurer, and things like that. I personally have never been happy with that. If we ask anybody how much this thing has costed, I don't think anybody will give you a figure. But you see, as I'm saying, we were moving almost, and we didn't have a manager of a project. A $2 million project requires a manager to see, well, you're getting the supplies, this thing, and so on. It was almost a day-to-day business.
Government donated $200,000 to the construction project, and a subcommittee was formed to assist Grotto's management in coordinating use of the funds. Bellot says those funds have pretty much been spent.
We had a subcommittee dealing with that, and quite frankly, and a credit to the government, they had people from local government also working with us to be sure the money is going where it should be going. I am informed unofficially by the president. I have not been able to get in touch with the treasurer that there's just no money. Again, I'm not happy with that kind of thing, but that's what I said. So I'm having to raise the money required and so on.
Bellot says it has been a constant struggle to manage the project, while admitting there have been differences among board members.
The basic problem arose because we had some members who had resigned because they left the island, a couple. We had some who resigned because they were not happy with how meetings were being conducted, in the sense that, how should I put it? You know, you have sometimes people who don't get on. And one suggests one thing, so the other has a counter, and there's a bit thing. And you had some meetings that were really rough. And two members who resigned told me, frankly, that although they'd given nice reasons why they resigned, in fact, they were not happy with the, the thing and so on. For 3 years or about, we've had no board meetings, so you can understand the problem of communication.
One of NEPO's subcommittees is entering the 2018 hurricane season with less equipment at its disposal. Andrea Louis explains.
The Transportation, Evacuation and Equipment Subcommittee is responsible for, among other things, organizing and mobilizing heavy equipment for use after a natural disaster to clear roadways and allow for the flow of traffic. Chairperson of the Transportation Subcommittee, who is also the General Manager of the Public Works Corporation, says Hurricane Maria has hampered the ability of the subcommittee.
Because of the extent of damages, it was kind of difficult to even get the equipment on site very quickly. Now, when we did get them, it still had to take a long time before we could have the roads motorable again. What we are doing now is to come up with a revised list. We have to also look at the placement of those machines, because coming from Maria, there are a number of areas that would have had placed the machines, but because water would have gone through those areas, it is very unsafe. So there's no way that we can have the equipment on the same location.
John also cited small turnouts at meetings as a challenge to properly mapping out and executing duties of the subcommittee. She says, however, there will be a more efficient strategic plan for the 2018 hurricane season.
Yes, we would have to do that, and we'll schedule a meeting where we will look at specific areas, what it is we are going to do, who is going to do it, when they expected to do it. We now have to look, as you're aware, that we have Dominica Strong, and you notice that we would have machines and trucks. So we want to incorporate them in that area to assist us with machinery and trucks.
As regards the evacuation aspect of its operations, John says they may have to look at new ways of evacuating people following future natural disasters.
With the Fire and Ambulance Department, they played a major role in that area because they were the ones who were really involved in that, the evacuation. We are also revisiting, because with the level of damage that we had on the road blockages, we may now have to look at trying to evacuate people maybe via the sea. We would maybe have to have some floating jetty, to help us to be more effective.
The Transportation, Evacuation and Equipment Subcommittee comprises the Chief Technical Officer, DASPA, the Fire and Ambulance Department, Police Department, Ministry of Agriculture, and the Public Works Corporation. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
The Minister for Agriculture, Food and Fisheries continues to strongly advocate changing the face of extension services across the country.
Minister Reginald Austria wants extension officers monitoring crops instead of monitoring agriculture regions. He believes this renewed focus could help reduce travel time and give extension officers more time to spend with farmers. He told farmers at a meeting this week change is coming to the Ministry of Agriculture at various levels. Austria believes it would be more useful if the right people were placed in the right positions.
We also had to do some shifting around at the ministry level, because I find we have some people not in the right position. They're working hard, but if you take a doctor and you put him in a school, he will not produce as much in the school as he would produce as a doctor because he's a professional doctor. We have to find people in positions where their skill set is, what they're trained to do, what they can handle better. But the way we have it, because we have got plenty of people, we have got enough staff to serve the whole country, so we don't take people and don't send people out there. But sometimes with all good intentions, it's the wrong man you have out there. And because extension itself is a discipline by itself. A man can come out with a bachelor's degree and he's not necessarily a good extension officer because extension is a special skill. In the old days, you had to go to school to learn to be an extension officer.
Mr. Austri says having a college degree does not necessarily mean one can handle extension work.
These days, we do not have specialized extension officers. We have smart people with master's degrees, with bachelor of science degrees, but we don't want to turn them into extension officers. So we have two problems with that. One is an underutilization of the skill that the gentleman have, and two, you put him in a position where he cannot perform. If he's bright, he will learn as he going along. He's a bright fella, but that's not his skill, that's not his discipline. And so we have to find the right mix and the right balance for that to work.
And the University of Reading and the Cocoa Research Center are on a fact-finding mission on the state of the Hurricane Maria-stricken cocoa sector. The institutions will provide the Dominica Export-Import Agency, DEXIA, and Ministry of Agriculture with the capacity to help the cocoa sector bounce back. Professor Carol Wagstaff of the University of Reading's Department of Food and Nutritional Science is on island for the purpose of this project.
Clearly, Dominica has an absolute need for a rapid response at the moment following the Hurricane Maria last year. So they have funded us to do some initial work over here, to work with the cocoa industry, to work with organisations such as DEXIA and the Ministry of Agriculture to try and assist in rebuilding and rehabilitating the cocoa industry on Dominica so that it can regain its reputation as the producer of fine flavoured chocolate, to give local growers an opportunity to invest in this high value crop, and to try and then have some income that can be retained on island.
Professor Wagstaff says a network of cocoa farmers will be identified to focus on increasing production.
The immediate absolute need is to increase production. So before we get into the fermentation and the drying of cocoa and the final product, then we need to just get more crop. So that's the first stage, is to look at how we can assist in rebuilding some of the propagation facilities, getting people involved, making sure that we have the right types of cocoa grown on the island, and that's where our colleagues from Trinidad Cocoa Research Centre come in.
The Trinidad-based Cocoa Research Centre of the University of West Indies has 83 years of technical expertise in the development of the crop.
We are a premier research centre with experience across the whole value chain, as the people would want to call it, not just bean to bar, but what I prefer to call plant to product, not just in the agronomy, propagation, genetic analysis, the genomics, flavor, fermentation, all the range of services that Dominica would like to tap into, we can offer that technical expertise. So between ourselves and University of Reading, we're well poised to help Dominica move forward.
Based on his interaction with cocoa stakeholders, Dr. Motilal says people are seeing the opportunity to move the sector forward in a much better way.
Even though all the regions of Dominica are similar, right? They're all semi-unique trees. So we have the opportunity to collect from farms in Dominica several good candidate superior mother trees that can be used for propagation to resupply the Dominican industry. So you don't lose the fine flavor you have here. We can go in, recollect from those trees what worked for propagation in the refurbished propagation facilities, maintain it until such time the farms are cleared and managed properly to resupply to the farmers the best possible plants to put on farm, so that when the trees reach bearing capacity, they can have a very good yield on farm. And yield that provides perfect fine flavor.
To end the news, the headlines again. Pari Bellot blows the whistle on poor financial management at the Grotto Home for the Homeless. Farmers to have their headquarters at the building which previously housed the DBMC. And local government authorities told to be vigilant against unfairness in the distribution of relief supplies. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Idona John Baptist. Thanks for watching. Have a good weekend.